what's her name? Who?
We had a test and like everybody got like a 60 average on it, and she's like, "Wait a minute, guys."
No, I didn't.
I didn't.
Because I didn't do it.
Oh, that's right, you didn't do it.
Hey, I didn't do that test.
Evidently, it was just Jackson.
I didn't do that test. And then when Mr. Bell was in, I didn't do his test
I was
either.
gonna say,
I don't know how.
And you're not doing stuff now, too.
Either.
Amazing.
Well, like even the test that she did give us, I don't think we ever turned it. Like I never turned mine in.
Yeah, see?
And she like
Heck,
gave us
yeah.
it right either.
Okay.
Mr. Bell acted like he graded our stuff. And that man didn't grade anything.
Okay.
I'll give you that one.
His issue was he'd never done a computer grade book before. He actually did give me a giant pile of graded stuff.
You were like, eh.
And I was like, no.
He was the
He's
goat.
used to those paper.
Well, then he explained
Yeah.
stuff, and none of us would understand it, so we just call it the pits and move on.
Just like move on, yeah.
I'm the only one that gets Mr. Bell.
You don't
It
want
was,
to get
we were like, you know what, I don't think we should do that many problems a day. He'd be like, yeah, you're right.
When you guys
This
say that,
is really the
when you guys say that to me, I'm like, what, you want to do more?
1 through 10, Mr. Bill, are you sure? We don't normally have them. Oh, you guys are right. No homework. Thank you, Mr. Bill.
What letters do they use? A and B, probably. Yeah.
Or you do
What,
every single
like,
one
was
of
he a
those.
math teacher for?
I think he taught at a junior college or something.
You know, there was only like one question on the entire test that had anything to do with algebra 2.
Huh?
There was only like one question on the entire test that had anything to do with algebra 2.
And it was the quadratic formula one.
What?
They had a...
There was no
There was
quadratic
no
formula.
watch
It was the taking stuff
Well,
that
this probably should be, your guys' age, they probably have more geometry.
It was like
Because,
geometry and like weird stuff.
No, there was
because if you guys are on the normal track,
I
then
used it, but I got
you're
the right
doing geometry
answer.
this year.
Well, I maybe
That's why.
did something different right in that season.
It was, and I kind of.
So you guys
Did you
are,
factor it all?
yeah,
Oil?
not much you can do about it.
Maybe.
Next year we're doing trigonometry. Right?
Issa, did you know how to do your stuff on your test?
Trigonometry.
Issa's taking
Come
the
on.
standardized test, and she's just whizzing through it in like 10 minutes. And you're like,
Okay, okay.
this is boring.
Let's use.
I had bubbles in my dream last night, and I think it was from that.
What is wrong?
You had bubbles in
And I think it was the
Fortunate
same
every time Brady opens up the test book.
What is this music?
Probably
Mr. Adele's.
From Mr. Adele's class.
Probably playing music on his
Piano.
Spotify playlist or something.
The good stuff.
The good stuff.
Their playlist is all
Never
over
watched
the
watch
place.
that Land Run movie or whatever they said he was gonna watch.
Well, we're not gonna watch it yet. I think it's later.
What movie are we watching?
And it's not a full movie. It's just a clip.
The Land Run video.
Okay, so here's the three. These are like common relationships that a couple variables can have. This is called. This is direct variation, or sometimes it's called directly proportional, but kind of the key word is direct. Inversely proportional, or inverse. I think inverse variation. And then joint variation. So these are, so sometimes they might say proportional, but the key word, if it says direct, it's this, inverse joint. So if two things are directly related, then when one of them goes up, the other goes up. So this happens, this little basic equation happens all over the place. For example, the distance equation, distance equals rate times time. So the longer the time you travel, the more distance you go, that kind of thing. Or the sales you make from $5 selling $5 t-shirts, and how many t-shirts did you sell? So the more t-shirts you sell, the more money you make. Okay. So anyway, there's a bunch of examples you could use, but that's called a direct relationship. K stands for the constant, like the number that doesn't change. So maybe on this one it would have been, you're going like 60 miles an hour. Okay, or on this one you sell $5 per t-shirt. K stands for constant. I know constant doesn't start with a K, but that's whatever. That's what they use. So. Okay, inverse is when one number goes up and then the other goes down at a constant rate. So this one's a little harder to think of. What do I always use for this one? What's something when one thing goes up, the other one goes down?
Elevator.
Well, we gotta think numbers though.
Negatives.
Brady and Drew stocks. I don't know. I'm just thinking numbers.
Mine don't go up
Oh,
anymore.
stock market does not go up anymore. When you spend money, your bank account.
You're dead.
Yeah, something like that.
Your belongings go.
When your number of wives increase, your happiness decreases.
That makes sense.
Yeah. Anyways.
The more bottles you can,
Okay.
the happier you will be.
And the
Practically.
the only difference on joint is that this variable is dependent on two different variables instead of one variable. So it's kind of like direct, but instead of just a b, it's got a b and c. K is some constant. So k will be some number. Just depends on what the problem is. But the tricky thing is these can be written a little bit differently. So, for example, if I divided by b on this one, what would it look like? If I divided by b, I get a over b equals k. Or you could do a over k equals b. So that's also a direct relationship. If I multiplied by b on this one, I would get a times b equals k. Alright, so it could look like this or it could look like that. And this one, well, it's probably going to look like that, so we don't have to worry about it. Alright, okay.
I'm gonna be honest. Still kind of don't really know. I'm sure I'll pick it up at some point.
Yeah, we gotta do some examples for you guys to get it. Okay, number one, ready?
I don't think the board's ready.
Is number one, does that look like a direct, inverse, or joint variation?
Maybe.
Inverse.
Okay, inverse is correct. You guys see how they got that? No.
Can you write that on the board?
That makes me wonder where that's at.
Play Hillsong.
That looks like a dangerous road.
You said,
It's probably in
did you say direct?
I've driven on roads that look like that.
Did you say direct?
inverse?
This is a simulation. You don't play Scrabble?
Alright. Yeah, number one is inverse. Oh, and we're also supposed to say the constant of variation. What's the constant of variation on number one? 4. Yeah, that's where they put the number in. 4. So x and y, the reason x and y stay x and y is because they can be a lot of things. It just depends what you put in for x, what comes out for y. But the constant is always going to be on the equation you're using the same numbers, so they can just write 4. Number 3.
Would that be inverse as well?
So is
Direct.
Okay, yeah, it's the alternate form of the direct. So notice they have the constant over here. It is confusing because it kind of looks like that one, right? But if they have the constant over here, it is direct. So
I
yeah,
have a dish.
it is direct and 9. What?
It's a
Wait.
dish, actually. Dish. Direct.
Oh. Don't laugh at that. It's not. What?
like why?
Say again. Why is it this one, not this
You
one?
just laughed at anything.
Okay, because they put the 9 right here, that's the constant.
Do you have the issue?
So, yeah. If it was 9 over
My family
8
hates
or
this
whatever.
shit. My dad
So
was
does my
over
family.
Okay, yeah, that's what makes these a little bit tricky. Number 5, what kind of
Wait, what's
relation?
the constant of variation on 3?
9.
It's just the number they give you.
Is it
Wait, why
joint?
did I, isn't it between inverse and joint?
Which
Oh,
one?
direct.
5? Never mind.
Okay, number 5, what do you guys think?
Joint.
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 Because the volume is dependent on the base and the height.
Wait,
You
look
guys
at
remember that formula from geometry?
yeah, look at 6.
Volume.
What do you do if there's a
No,
square root or a squared
It's the
thing?
1/3.
I don't think
Exponent.
It's either a cone or a pyramid. So it's the volume of a cone or a pyramid. If it comes up to a point, you have to divide by. Anyway, divide by 3. Hopefully that wasn't on the test today, right? So it was.
There was a pyramid,
It was-
but
pyramid
it was
was
just surface
easy.
area.
Oh,
You just find the triangles, multiply by 4, and then add that to the base.
well, there you go. You figured it out.
Yeah.
That's what I They
Um,
also gave you the formula.
so it's joint, and what is the constant of variation is 1/3. Okay, number 7.
Oh, that's inverse.
You know.
No,
Constant,
that
right,
is.
right.
Okay, you see how the constant is right next to the number? So it's actually direct. So on this one, it would be the two variables equal the constant.
I don't understand.
No, I don't either.
I don't understand why that would be different.
K equals con is.
Because the
Okay, because the constant is right next to one of the
The
variables.
constant is multiplied by a variable.
I thought
If
the
it was
constant
inverse, it would
was the
equal
number.
constant.
So
Yeah, the constant is the K. The K is
here, let me give you an example. So if I said A equals 5B, that would be direct. It'd be like this one. But if I said 5 equals AB, that would be actually inverse. That would be this one.
Doesn't make sense? Not really. Or no, no.
If the
Well,
numbers alone.
The numbers.
I know they look pretty similar, but on this kind of equation, when the B gets bigger, the A is going to get bigger. You can imagine putting bigger numbers in for B. But on this one, when the B gets bigger, the A's actually got to get smaller. I know they look very similar, but they're actually kind of opposites of each other. It depends on where you put the constant at.
Is it constant or
Constant at. It depends where the constant is at.
I have a
So
question.
what was 7? Was direct?
Correct.
7 is direct
Look,
and
look at
3.5.
8. There's 2 numbers. How the heck do you do that?
Yeah.
Yeah, we should probably talk about 8. If I, let's see, manipulated stuff a little bit. If I multiplied by RP, and then the left side would become 2RP equals 4, right?
It's inverse.
And then if I divided by 2, it would be RP equals 2. So which one is that?
Inverse.
Inverse.
Yeah, right there.
Would that make the number 2 as well?
Yeah, 2 would be the constant. So yeah, I think you can write them different ways. That's what makes it kind of tricky.
You want to stop at 10?
I do, but no. Number 9.
There's no.
I know it's 9 is a trick question.
Oh wait,
No.
wait, that was.
There's the K.
Okay, what do you guys think 9 is for type?
Inverse.
I think it's a joint. 'Cause
Okay.
They can make a 1 and then it's a
Right. So there's an invisible 1 in front of the AB, right?
Yeah.
So it is a joint, and the
I don't understand what's a joint.
okay, because you could write it as
So confused.
Did you not see that? There's a long, really long here.
It just looked like you're trying to like make a metaphor of my name.
You need to get the E.
Okay,
Yeah.
because you could put a 1 right here, right? So the constant of variation is 1 on this one. It's kind of a trick question. It's invisible 1.
Joint is if they're all in the same.
No, joint has more variables. Joint is one variable, depends on the other 2.
And what do we group of 1 and
So they didn't put a number on that one, so that's like there's a 1 right there. So 1 is the constant of variation. think that's the only one they pulled that trick on. So.
What do we do with the square root?
Okay, we probably should talk about 10 too. Even though s is squared, it's still only one variable, so it'll still be a direct relationship.
So, if there's
What do you?
one variable, it's direct. If there's-
Well, no. Okay, these have two variables. Both of these do, and one constant.
Okay.
These have three variables, A, B, and C, and K will be a constant. A number. Okay, on 10, what do you guys think the constant of variation is? Okay, it is direct, but what's the constant of variation?
Square root of 3/4.
Yeah, square root of 3/4.
So the square doesn't do anything?
I mean, it doesn't do nothing, but it doesn't affect our answers, I guess you could say.
So on 6, it would be a half.
Yep.
Like
Okay,
Wait, how is 10 direct? What would be? Yeah, what would be inverse?
no, it's basically it's this one, but instead of a b right there, it's b squared.
Oh, okay.
But still, as b gets bigger, the a gets bigger, so it's still a direct relationship. Okay, number 11, write a function rule representing each variation when y and x minus 2 and x equals 5. Okay, so on number 11 it says varies directly. So I'm going to be using this right here, or I could use this one. Either one, actually. That one might be a little bit easier. So they're saying a could be, or y could be, in the directions it says y equals 2 when x is 5. So that's like one of the solutions. So instead of the a and b, they're basically using the y and the x. But y could be 2 when x is 5, and we can use that to figure out what the constant has to be. Okay, so all I did was plug in, they're using y and x instead of a and b, but all I did was plug in the y value and the x value, and I can use this to figure out what the constant must be. So how do I solve for k? Divide by 5. What's 2 divided by 5? 2/5. So on number 11, the constant of variation is going to be 2/5. Oh, but actually they wanted us to write the function, so it would be that. Y and x can be a lot of things. They can be infinite answers kind of thing. But the constant can only be the constant, the one thing. Just got to figure out what it is. Okay. Number 13. Find the missing value for each variation. Alright. If y is directly proportional to x and y equals 26. Alright. I probably should have made another column up here. I'll do it anyway. Okay, if two things vary directly, I'm going to screw us up and put x's and y's. Maybe I'll stick with a's and b's. If two things vary directly, or you could say they're directly proportional, then a over b should equal a over b. Okay? Now, the difference is they're giving us two different examples. Like a is this when b is that. If a is this, then what's b going to be? So they're giving us two different sets of a's and b's as opposed to just one set. So the problems will be a little different. In inverse, will just be ab equals purple things. A over B should always be equal to the same thing on this one. A times B should always equal the same thing on these. So these are the formulas I'm going to use. And for the joint, I'm just going to use that still. Shucks. Okay, so on 11 it says directly proportional. That's the same thing as varies directly. So it says y is 26 when x is 4. So 26 over 4 should be the same thing as find y when x is 6. Y over 6. So if you put y on top on one side, you need to put y on top on the other side. Or if you put x on top. And then how did we solve these kinds of equations? So 26 times 6 equals 4y.
It's 39.
So on these, you're basically just putting the number wherever they go in. Those other things.
Yeah, so if it's directly, I'm going to set up like this. If it's inverse, I'm going to set up like this. If it's joint, I'm going to still use that. We'll talk about that in a bit. 15, inversely proportional. Okay, that's the same as 14 where it says varies inversely. So on this one, it's A times B equals A times B. Or in 15's case, S times R should equal S times R. So it says S is 16 when R is 2. So 16 times 2 equals S times 8. Or 8S. 16 times 2 is 32. Divided by 8. S is 4. So I just use this formula right here.
So on the direct, how do you know which one's on top?
It doesn't matter. You get the same answer. If you flip it upside down, you cross multiply, you still get the... Whatever you put on top on one side, though, you need to match it on the other side. Put y's on top, it needs to be y's on top of the other side. Put x, then x. Okay, number 17. If y varies directly as the cube of x, what do you think that means?
To the third.
X to the third. So instead of like y over x, I'm going to do like y over x cubed. Y varies directly as the cube of x. So that's kind of what we're going to do. Still using this formula, the direct variation formula right there. So let's see. Y is 108 when x is 3. So I'm going to do 108 over 3 cubed. Should equal. Find y when x is 1. So y over 1 cubed. So cross multiply, 3 cubed would be like 27, right? 27y. 1 cubed is 1. So that would equal 108.
4.
Equals 4 again. Alright, what was that? 17, 19. Okay, varies jointly. This is the first of these. Let's see, are there any evens that do that?
No, it doesn't look.
Okay, so it's the only one we have to worry about. There isn't. Okay. I'm gonna. I should say this now. Well, okay, I'm gonna transform this a little bit. If I divide by BC here, this is A varies jointly to B and C. So I could rewrite that as A over BC equals K. So any A over BC should equal any other A over BC. So we could use this formula. I changed my mind. We'll just use this. Okay, they should always equal the same constant value. So they should be equal to each other. So on number 19, when it says M varies jointly to P and Q, that means M is like my A value here, and P and Q are like the B and C. So M varies jointly as P and Q. That's how it goes. So M over PQ should equal M over PQ. Alright, so M equals 40 when P equals 1 and Q equals 5. So 40 over 1 times 5 should equal, find M when P is 4 and Q is 2. M over 4 times 2. Okey-dokey. 4 times 2 is 8. 8 times 40 is 320. Divided by 5 is 64.
How do you do number 20?
Let me guess, you've done 2 through 18 already. Oh yeah, whoops, snuck that one in on me. So y varies directly as x, meaning
20.
y equals kx, and inversely means that. Inversely as z. So if I solve that for k, would you know how to solve that for k? So basically on the inversely part, I put that letter on the bottom because that's what it means. And on the direct, I just put it directly across, and inversely put it on the bottom. If you multiplied by z and divided by x, you get yz over x. So anytime you do y times z divided by x, it should equal y times z divided by x on this problem.
So
Yz over x should equal yz over x. They should always equal the same thing. How many tests do you guys have left?
Not that many.
Oh, you guys don't have it in here, do you?
No.
The freshmen and juniors have to do that.
Yours.
Oh, that's Issa has to do that.
Maybe what'd you get on 20?
A 3.
You got 4?
I got 12. I got 12.
Okay.
What's the right answer? No, Issa.
Somebody is correct.
Issa,
got
what's
it.
the right answer?
Issa, what'd you get?
That's
Well,
good.
come on. I thought you wrote the text.
Oh, I did it wrong. Okay.
I think it's.
No, we didn't.
No, I didn't. Wait, one of us or two of us?
I was pretty vague about that, wasn't
You were.
I? Y is E over X, so it would be
2
Uh,
times 4 over
2 times 4 over 2
2, which is 8 over 2.
I got 12. It's 12.
equals,
2y over 6, right?
let's see,
And then you get 4y equals 48.
Yes. Yeah.
And then you divide by 4. I divided by 12.
were you like thinking
I
ahead
was
to the
thinking
answer?
ahead and then I.
And then you use the
Oh,
answer.
so what I'm hearing is someone was wrong.
Yeah, it was, but I
Wrong.
got ahead of it. I had to walk through it again.
You did the same thing the second time.